What's going on, everybody? My name is Michael Weer, and today we are talking about the movie Hesher. Now, Hesher is a movie that I've already reviewed on this channel. You can actually check that review out right there. I will never take it down because those were my thoughts about the movie 4 years ago when I did that review. Recently, I was talking to some friends and they were like, hey, you got to check out this movie again. And I was like, I really didn't connect with it. I didn't like it. And my wife, it's in her top favorite movies of all time. And she was like, you've got to rewatch this movie. So I told myself, okay, I'm going to rewatch the movie, but I'm only going to talk about it on YouTube if I've had a different experience with it this time around. And as I'm talking to you guys on YouTube, clearly I had a different experience. So this isn't necessarily a full-on review of the movie, but I do want to talk to you guys about the movie because I feel like some of my issues with it have gone away and some of them have stuck. So let's talk about Hesher once again.
Did I miss something?
Not really.
So Hesher is a movie that stars Rainn Wilson as a father to Devin Brochu, who plays a kid named TJ, and TJ's mother slash Rainn Wilson's wife just passed, and they're both in a very sad state. Now, the movie doesn't explicitly say that right off the bat, which is one of the things I had an issue with the first time around, but on second viewing, because I knew that that happened to them, I understood where those characters were at mentally. Like, it made more sense this time. And I appreciated it a little bit more this time around because I knew what was coming later. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm okay with the movie taking time to explain things to me, and I think it can be done very well the first time around in some movies, like Manchester by the Sea that I just watched recently. It's got a very dark story to it that you don't find out till closer to the end, but I think it was done very well. Whereas this movie, you've got Rainn Wilson walking around the house like a zombie, and they don't explicitly tell you why. Clearly, the mother's not in the picture, but you don't know what happened to her. So I don't want to fault the movie for me not understanding it right away, but like I said, this time around, I was able to feel that impact of the loss that they were feeling in this movie because I knew what happened to the mother right off the bat. The movie also stars Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who is the title character, Hesher, in this movie. He comes into this movie because he is a bum that's living in like this construction housing unit that's not yet finished, and TJ, since he's dealing with all these issues with losing his mother, goes to these construction houses and starts taking rocks and throwing them through the windows because he's so upset. Well, that calls security over, and they find Hesher as well, and it basically leads to Hesher following TJ home and then just moving in, which is an issue I do still have with this movie. I don't, like, if this was the real world, they would have just called 911. I mean, I don't care what the characters were going through. They would not have been like, all right, fine, this guy that plays Metallica and Motorhead all day, every day, he could just stay in the garage. Like, they wouldn't have done that. I get that he connects with the grandma, and so eventually it kind of turns into a nice relationship there, but no sane, rational people would have been like, all right, this guy that's in his underwear in my living room, he can stay. That's just my own personal, like, I wouldn't let that happen as a father and as a husband, but I don't know, maybe the character of Rainn Wilson has to let that happen, but whatever. So Hesher moves into their house and then kind of follows this kid around because, as it turns out, Hesher actually has a heart of gold, kind of. I mean, he lets a lot of bad stuff happen to the kid, and he's on drugs the whole time, but he has a heart of gold and wants to sort of help this family, kind of. Like, it only happens because Hesher kind of has this really nice relationship with the grandma that's at this house as well, and then the grandma passes, and when she passes, Hesher's like, listen, I gotta tell this story about my left nut. That's cool. I still have problems with this movie. One of the things I said in my original review was that I didn't find this movie funny at all. I did find some comedy within this movie this time around. Like, I loved when Joseph Gordon-Levitt's like, hey, you guys realize you only have 4 channels? And then he goes up on a telephone pole and he kind of messes with the cable box and then falls off. That was pretty funny, but then he walks in the house, he starts playing porn, just sits back and watches the porn. He's like, now you got more channels, and it's just porn playing on the TV. Like, that worked for me this time around. That was funny. I liked that. But where the movie still doesn't work for me is I don't like watching TJ be abused by basically everyone in his life because his mom died. Like, it's just life kicking him, right? Knocked him down with his mom passing, and then everybody in his life is kicking him, whether it's the bully at school, the asshole at the car dealership that won't let him have the car that his mother died in. I mean, the guy sent it to the wreckers. So, like, he wasn't really selling it. Like, he was just an asshole. Then you got Rainn Wilson, who wasn't being a dad. And again, I understand his wife passed, and so he's in this like depressed state. But like, he wasn't being a dad for this entire goddamn movie. And then he keeps taking TJ to a sort of people getting over losing their loved ones group therapy session, and it's depressing. It's like, you wouldn't really put your kids through this, would you? That's my biggest issue with this movie. It sticks with me because I don't like watching TJ just get abused by everyone in his life. No one really cares. Even Hesher, who technically has a heart of gold and wants to help him out, but he's an asshole to him throughout the entire movie. And so I still have a problem with Hesher's character and the way he treats TJ throughout this movie. Finally, the movie also stars Natalie Portman, and Natalie Portman is, I think, officially my favorite character in this movie. First of all, it's Natalie Portman. But secondly, I really liked her character. I like that she is sweet to TJ and is nice to him. She takes care of him when he needs to be taken care of. And I understood his infatuation with her. Like, she's a pretty young girl, clearly out of his age range, although worked for Anakin. Just gonna throw that out there. But clearly she's way out of his age range. They could never actually be together, but he's got a crush on her. And we've all, as little boys, once had a crush on someone that was way too old for us. I remember my first older lady crush when I was a little kid. It never would have worked. She was like 50 years older than me. But whatever, I remember that, yeah. So we've all like gone through that as kids, I think. Hopefully I'm not alone. At least me and TJ have that in common. But the point I'm trying to make here is that, like, I like her character sort of looking out for TJ, and she legitimately wants to be friends with him. She notices he's hurting. She's the only character within this movie that sees a kid that's hurting, that wants to make his life a little better, and never judges him within the movie. Like, even at one point in the movie when Joseph Gordon-Levitt goes to her house and has sex with her because they are two consenting adults, who cares? And TJ gets really upset about that because he's not a big fan of Hesher, and neither was I, just to be very clear. And so he sees Hesher with her and he's very upset, and you understand why he's upset, because his little brain can't process the fact that, yeah, they're two consenting adults, who cares, man? He says really mean things to her, and at the end of the movie she even comes back to him and she apologizes, and they kind of make up and they're friends again. In my opinion, she's the only redeemable character in this entire movie. Like, Hesher only has a redeeming arc at the end of this movie because the grandma dies and he had a connection with her, and then he goes to the funeral and he's a asshole at the funeral, surprise surprise, but then he gets Rainn Wilson's character and he gets TJ to go on a walk with her casket at the end of the movie, and it's like they're all healing, and you see Rainn Wilson with a shaved, looking like Dwight from The Office at the end. So I understand that this movie deals with life and death and how people grieve, but at the end of the day, I still feel like it's a movie that didn't need to be made. Like, it exists, and that's my own personal opinion, and I think that's something that I want to touch on that I probably didn't touch on enough in my original Hesher review, and that is that the thoughts on this channel are my personal opinion, and I would hope that you don't come on YouTube looking for critics that just agree with you, because what fun would that be? One of my favorite things to do is watch movie reviews on YouTube, and if they just agreed with everything I thought every single time, that would get boring. So I like when I watch somebody and they say, hey, you know, these were the issues I had with the movie, and I was like, I didn't have those issues with the movie, but that's fine, because art is subjective and all film is art, and I feel like everyone should experience it a little different. So while I have a little more appreciation for Hesher, it'll probably be another 4 years till I watch it. But hey, then again, in 4 years, I might just have a different opinion. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. So I just finished editing my Hesher review. Yeah, I like to edit right here. It's comfortable, but I just finished editing it and feel really good about it. Feel good that I got some more thoughts out on the video that has caused so much controversy on my channel. But yeah, if you don't like my new thoughts on the movie, then go fuck yourself. Yeah, that feels good to say.